friends, to my podcast, Loss and Healing. It's a podcast dedicated to navigating the profound journey of miscarriage grief. I'm your host, Dr. Rachna, and I'm honored to be your guide as we explore the delicate landscape of loss, healing, and hope. Sweet friends, before we begin today, I wanted to give you a quick content note. Our episode today includes personal experiences with miscarriage, and it may evoke strong emotions for you. Now, our guest will be sharing intimate, visceral details that could resonate with similar experiences that you have had as well, which can heighten feelings of grief, sadness, or distress. Now, if you're currently navigating pregnancy loss, any trauma, or have recently experienced a miscarriage, I really want you to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. If at any time you find yourself feeling triggered, please take a gentle step back and go take care of yourself, whether that's by reaching out to someone for support, gentle walk, and maybe just pausing it till you're ready to come back and listen to it again. Well, hello, sweet friends. So today I'm honored to welcome Maria, a good friend of mine who has graciously agreed to share her personal experience with miscarriage in a gentle conversation. She has chosen to speak about what she is comfortable sharing, and we will pause or stop anything that she's not comfortable speaking about. So, Maria, thank you so much for being here today and for having the courage and the vulnerability to share your story.
Thank you.
So, Maria, tell me a little bit about what you're comfortable sharing with our listeners today.
I'm comfortable sharing most things, so I'm okay answering questions.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. And also around the motivation to come on and finally speak about miscarriages and the pain that you have gone through, right? And your story. What was that motivation that kind of made you say, yes, I'm going to share this now?
Just because I think not everybody feels comfortable sharing it, and it took me a while to be comfortable talking about it too. I still don't like to talk about it all that much, but it doesn't bother me as much as it did right when it happened. It's been several years, so.
Yeah, yeah, right. Well, at any point, like I said, Maria, we can pause and take a break. So you just let me know what's comfortable, okay?
Okay.
All right. So we're going to go back a little bit, Maria, and tell me a little bit about your journey around when you first found out that you were pregnant.
Well, I remember I was excited because it was going to be our second child, and I had always wanted at least 2 or 3 kids, so I didn't want to have an only child. My cousin was an only child, and I remember how I wouldn't say jealous, but I remember she was always like wishing she had a sister
Mm,
or a younger sibling. So I was excited that my older daughter would have a sister to grow up with. So,
okay. Yeah. Yeah. And when we think about getting pregnant, most of us immediately we start forming this future for this child, right?
mhm.
So when that happened for you, what were some of the plans that were forming in your head already?
um, I don't know. I think I was just well, I started thinking of names already. I was kind of hoping it would be a girl, just so that my older daughter could have a sister.
Mhm.
Because I don't know, I just think it's nice if you have a sister. I know sister brothers just good too, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just excited at the thought of my older daughter having a sister close in age to her that she could grow up with and
Yeah, of course. Of
close in
course.
age too.
Yeah, just kind of grow up together with all the
Hmm.
experiences in a family, right? They can have
Yeah,
that bond that
yeah.
you do when you have a close sibling. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then, Maria, having the miscarriage, if you're comfortable, could you describe in your own words what happened and how did you feel, even days after?
Um, so like I said, I thought everything was fine. I had gone for my 3-month checkup and had my stepdaughter and my older or my firstborn with me. And I thought it was just gonna be a routine checkup, just check the heartbeat, everything. And the nurse came in and couldn't find the heartbeat. And so I was already starting to have anxiety about it.
Yeah.
Um, and then they came in and they did the internal ultrasound and
Okay.
still nothing. And I at that point I knew something was wrong, even though they were still trying to reassure me that everything was fine. I knew it wasn't fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then the doctor came in and told me that, the fetus had died somewhere. They think they're estimating it died around 10 weeks.
Okay.
So my 2 month checkup was good. So, like I said, they knew it passed sometime between my second visit, my second month visit, and my third month visit, but he was estimating the age to be around 10 weeks. Uh,
Okay.
so I was sad and stuff. And I think, like I said, my stepdaughter was 6 years old at the time. So it just kind of went over her head. Like she didn't really know what was going on. So
Yeah.
at least I didn't have to answer those questions from her.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not even sure if she really knew I was there. She just knew I had to go to a doctor's appointment. So I didn't really get questions from her. So that was kind of nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but yeah, it was after I left and got home that, you know, everything just kind of came when I was sad and I cried and
Okay.
all that. And a couple days after, I mean, still for a few days after, I was having emotional, I was just very emotional over it. And
Yeah.
they had told me that if it didn't pass on its own, I was going to have to come back and have it removed. And like I said, when I was at the appointment, they were talking to me about all the risks of a D&C should it not pass on its own. And it kind of freaked me out a little bit. So, and I wanted to have more kids. So I decided to do the pill version when it came to that time,
Mhm.
just because I was worried about how that would be. And that was a hard day too, because I felt like I didn't have a ton of support. But my roommate at the time, I had finally confessed to her after I went home. Like I was already home and I already taken the pills. And she called to check on me because I usually tell her what's going on, but
Mhm.
she hadn't heard from me, so she was worried about me. And so
Yeah.
I think because she knew me and she knew something wasn't right, so I just told her the truth about what was happening, and
Mm.
she left work right away to come home
Yeah.
and be with me.
Yeah. I know this is hard. I know. Yeah. Maria,
So I mean,
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
no, it was nice that she came,
Yeah.
and someone really say she like took care of me, but she did. She was there for emotional support,
Yeah.
and I was really grateful that she was there.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you had that support immediately
And then
with her.
I think so, and then she ended up calling my mom to let my mom know because I just I think I couldn't say it at the time because I would get too upset.
Yeah.
So I know she called my mom, and then my mom ended up coming over. She was there about an hour later because I lived kind of far from my mom at the time. So my mom came over as soon as she could. But I did have their support, and it was really nice to have them there. So
Maria, I know this is very difficult to talk about, but I'm also wondering, do you remember any sounds or textures or even moments that helped you feel understood during this time? Aside from, your mom and your roommate showing up, was there anything else that you can recall?
um, not at this time. I just know it was. I did feel like I said. I was just, even though I didn't really want to share with anybody what was happening, it was nice that she was there for me.
Yeah.
And and like I said, even though I really didn't want people there, I did appreciate later that she did call my mom to let my mom know.
Yeah.
And like I said, because they helped out with the kids. Like my mom was helping out with the kids, and they were kind of, between the two of them, they were taking turns with the kids and helping me and making sure that I was comfortable. Because I mean, it wasn't exactly pleasant to go through. I mean, there was lots of cramping and abdominal pain, and so I guess I would just say it was more like having really, really bad period cramps.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it was. I initially thought I was going to do it by myself, but I'm glad that I ended up telling my roommate about it and that she told my mom because I did need their support and I didn't think I was going to. I thought I would just do it by myself and not tell anybody.
Mhm. Yeah. I think, Maria, just like yourself and also myself, and a lot of our listeners also feel very alone when a miscarriage happens, and we feel this need to kind of keep it to ourselves, right? And I think what you're really highlighting by sharing that, and thank you so much for your honesty and transparency, that the incredible amount of support that's needed, that we're not necessarily meant to do this by ourselves, that it's nice to have someone hold our hand, look out for our kiddos that we already have, and just show up for us.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Maria, do you recall being surprised by any emotions that came up during that time, or any other time that you may have experienced a miscarriage?
Um, just that first one, like there is a lot of sadness. Like I think about it now and I feel silly about feeling as sad as I was at the time for losing that child because this happened 14, 15 years ago, and over that time I've had friends or family members I know that have lost a child at like 10 months, or not, yeah, 10 months, like the baby was born and then lost it, and I felt how silly am I for being sad about losing a 10-week-old baby when they had their baby in their arms and then it died within a month of having it.
Yeah.
And I just felt like that would have been so much worse than what I went through, so I kind of felt silly for feeling the way I did.
Yeah. Yeah. Maria, you're saying things that I think many women feel when they do have friends or family that experience a loss at another age when their child is older. But I really want to encourage all of us really to think about that our pain is no less than anybody else's. Okay? When we become pregnant, there's a dream, there's a hope. We become mothers all over again, brand new moms. And when that dream gets lost, it's a grief like no other. And it breaks our hearts. Right. And I think most of us have gone through that where we feel silly, as as you said about our own grief, but really your grief matters just as much as anybody else's. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else emotionally that you experienced, shame, guilt, anger, especially after your first loss? And if you don't mind sharing, Maria, how many miscarriages have you gone through? If that's okay to share.
So I had 5 total, but the first one was the worst because that was the one that didn't come out on its own, and I was given the option of doing the DNC or the pills, so I did the pills, and um, I ended up passing the fetus in the toilet, and I still have um, guilt over just flushing it. Like
Yeah.
I guess I just didn't know at the time. Like I'm like, what do I do? Do I take it? Do I bury it? Do I just flush it? Like I didn't know what to do. I mean, you could clearly tell it was a baby.
Mm.
So I flushed it, and I still have guilt for doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, the other ones weren't as difficult because I those ones just passed on their own. So when I started having cramps, I figured, oh, it's happening again. And I never actually saw those ones, if that makes any sense. There was just lots of clotting and like I know it came out, but I didn't see it, if that makes any sense. So it was not as difficult as the first one,
Yeah.
which was you could clearly see what it was. And
Yeah. I think it's part of that ambiguous loss that we experience.
mhm.
Right. Like the first one, you actually saw it, you weren't able to hold your baby, but you knew that's what was going on. But then the other ones were, it's almost, would you say, and I don't want to speak for you, Maria, would you say there was a little bit of detachment from the others in some ways?
I think so, yeah. Like after the first one, um, I think I tried not to think about it much at all until I passed the third trimester. So the other ones I had never told anybody that I was pregnant because I was just planning on waiting because of what happened with the first one. Um, and because it happened in the, you know, the other four happened between 8 and 10 weeks. So nobody really even knew I was pregnant yet because I wasn't showing or anything. So I didn't have to like explain, like, it wasn't like people knew I was pregnant and then noticed I wasn't, nothing like that. So that's why I think those ones were a little easier. But I had told people about the first one. Um, so
Yeah.
that's why I think the other ones were a little bit easier for me. But yes, definitely I was detached from the other ones. Like I just try not to even think about it until after I passed
Okay. Okay.
3 months. Yeah.
Maria, how do you think your medical team responded to these losses? Right after the miscarriage, did you feel supported, had information given, resources? What was your experience like with that?
Um, no, I just felt like it was very callous and nobody really, it just felt like I was just another one in and out, if that makes any sense. Like they just said, "Oh, this is we're going to do this or this. Either you choose B and C or you choose the pills, and then make sure it all passes out." But that's pretty much all they told me. And there was no. I think I had to come back for a follow up for the first one, but for the other ones, they didn't do anything. They didn't say anything. It just I don't know. I don't know if there's just that many that they just don't say anything or not. But
Yeah.
I didn't. I just felt like not that they didn't care, but that's just how they did things. I don't know. That
No.
makes sense, but
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, I think, Maria, you're speaking from a place where a lot of us have experienced that with our medical team. I guess my curiosity is if you had a choice, like what would you have rather seen your medical team doing for you after?
I
What
don't
did you
know.
need?
Like,
Yeah.
what's that?
What did you need?
Oh, uh, I don't know. Like it after the first one for sure would have been nice if they did have someone for me to talk to or even mention it, but nobody mentioned it, so I mostly just kept it to myself, and the only ones that knew was um my mom and my roommate because I had well, I think some other people had found out, but I didn't tell them. I think my mom or my roommate had mentioned it to them, and that I just didn't want to talk about it, so nobody ever approached me about it.
I think that also leads us into the topic of just boundaries and the language of
Mm-hmm.
marriages.
Mm-hmm.
Language, do you think, Maria, for you is comfortable and respectful when we talk about miscarriages and your own experience? Is there something that sits comfortably with you and something that does not feel good to be brought up when around miscarriages for you?
Um, no, not anymore now. Like I'm usually fine talking about it, but I usually just tell the basics. I don't really go into detail like I have been today, um, because it's just like I said, it happened and it's been a while ago, and I don't know. Like I said, I think it would have been a lot different if I had been further along.
Mhm. What about back then? though. Like right now, it sounds like in the present moment you're okay
Hmm.
talking about it. But if you were to kind of go backwards, back in time a little bit,
Hmm.
there anything that you can recall that didn't sit well with you around language or the way it was talked about, even if others had gone through this and it kind of maybe triggered something in you?
Um, I don't think so because I think, like I said, I know my mom and my roommate knew that I was still grieving over it, so they just kind of never brought it up again. They let me be the one to bring it up. Like if I wanted to talk about it, they were there to listen, but they didn't really say anything to me.
Okay.
And so that's just kind of how it was. And I think my roommate, like, um, because she knew some of my couple of my coworkers who knew, like, I think she kind of like, I honestly think she kind of ran interference and just
Mhm.
kind of kept them from talking to me about it. I don't know for sure, but I suspect she did because nobody ever came and asked me about it.
Mm.
So, um, I don't know. And like I said, my mom didn't really say anything about it either. If I said something, then she would listen, but she didn't really bring it up either.
Well, when we talk about these boundaries and the way we talk about miscarriages to women and to others around us, what would you want your listeners to know? Um, let's say, they had a friend who had a miscarriage or a family member. What would you want them to know about how to respond to a woman who's just had a miscarriage? What can they say or do?
I think just let them know that you're there. And I know I probably wouldn't have reached out to anybody, but you know, if I wanted to, maybe just be there to listen when they're ready to talk.
So, Maria, thank you so much for your sharing what you just did. And I am wondering, you mentioned having your mom and your roommate to just be of support to you. And I'm also wondering, were you able to find time to stop and just really process what you were going through? Were you able to do that, whether with them or with yourself or with a therapist?
No, I never saw a therapist. I think I had a lot of other things going on in my life at the time. And I think I just wanted to like move past it, forget that it happened. So I just kind of swept it under the rug and just didn't want to think about it. Just kind of like pretend it didn't happen almost.
And honestly, Maria, I don't think you're alone in that boat. We live in a society where we're constantly go, 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 and a miscarriage is so many times brushed under the rug, right? And I
Mhm.
am also curious about, was there anything, even in those moments where you felt like I just have to keep going, going. I have a child to look after and work to go to and things to take care of. Was there anything in those moments you felt that maybe made you feel safe and grounded in the weeks or even months after?
Just having my 9 month old around and my older daughter, um, they kept me pretty busy and distracted. And I think it was just distractions is what kept me going.
Were there any rituals or routines or practices that brought you comfort? Some people, um, you know, they maybe name the baby or have a memorial to them. Was there anything that you were able to do?
No, and I think that's why I still have guilt over that. Like I said, I just distracted myself with um, my the child that I did have that was just around a year old, and with my older daughter. So I just kept busy with them, and I didn't really think about that. Like I said, I just think back to that day and how I just chose to flush it and not do anything about it. Like, and sometimes I feel like I was wrong for doing that.
Thank you, Maria, so much for your honesty and vulnerability once more. I am curious about how did your sense of self, your identity, and even future hopes for pregnancy after the first miscarriage shift over time?
Um, like I said, after the first one, I think I just tried to sweep everything under the rug and pretend it didn't happen. So um, the next four pregnancies also ended in miscarriage, and I just kind of was detached from them because I just expected. Well, with the second one, I was hopeful still, but then when I lost that one too at 8 weeks, um, I started to lose hope. And then then the third one happened, and then the fourth one happened, and then the fifth one happened, and I just got to the point where not that I didn't care, but I just tried not to feel anything for it until after I had passed 3 months. And then the sixth one, I actually don't, that was my next child. But when I was about 5 months pregnant, like I thought I was in the clear because I had passed the 3 months. And so I had told people I was obviously showing. Um, but then I started cramping and I started bleeding heavily at about, I think I was around 5.5 months. And I remember um, I got taken to the emergency room, and the doctor had just told me I was having another miscarriage and that there was nothing he could do about it. He said to just go home and try and get some bed rest and hopefully the bleeding would stop. And um, I guess I had like lost all hope at that point because I just figured this was going to be worse because she she was 5.5 months. Um, but luckily, even though I kept spotting throughout the rest of my pregnancy, like the cramping and the heavy bleeding eventually subsided. And but I kept spotting and I was worried the whole time. So I pretty much didn't really do a whole lot of anything. I stayed in bed most of the time. Um, aside from some light walking around the house just to do daily activities, I really didn't do a whole lot of anything because I was afraid if I did too much that I would lose this one too. And she ended up coming out just fine. But there is a lot of fear with that one,
Yeah.
especially since the 5 month mark. When I thought I was okay, I started having all that bleeding and cramping.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. When you think about your experience, Maria, and you think about all the pain that you've gone through, and I know it was a while ago, but still, even as you talk about it today, I can hear it in your voice, the grief that comes up. How would you describe your healing at this stage? Right? And what I mean is, were there any milestones that feel meaningful to you at this point when you think back with about all the loss that you've experienced?
um, just just that I've tried to be thankful for the kids that I do have because I know there's some people out there that experience this and never get to have a child to hold.
Yeah, yeah. Anything else that you feel our listeners can benefit from your experience, Maria, of having gone through so many losses? And I just want to give you such a big hug right now, honestly. And I can't thank you enough for sharing your story with us today. But is there anything that you feel your listeners could benefit from, especially someone who may have just gone through a miscarriage?
I would think maybe, like I said, do confide in someone and do talk to them, even if they just listen, because I think I just kept it all inside. So I didn't want to talk about it. And even though my roommate was there and my mom was there, like they knew what happened, but they also knew I didn't want to talk about it. So I think talking about it would help some, or at least talking to a counselor or something. Said I just wanted to pretend like it didn't happen, but I feel like I might have been better off had I talked about it or talked to a therapist for a while about it.
So what I'm hearing is, this importance of reaching out for support,
Yes.
not feeling like that we're alone in this. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Maria, for just having the courage to come and share your story with us today. I am so, so thankful. And, you know, um, I hope that your story, I hope and I know that your story is going to be encouraging to somebody else. And I hope that listeners, you're able to reach out and find the support that you need. Yeah.
Thank you.
Once again, I want to give a big thanks to Maria for bravely sharing her story. Her openness helps illuminate a path towards understanding, connection, and healing for so many of us, including myself. Now, my sweet listeners, if you feel this episode could benefit somebody else, I would encourage you to share it with them. And as always, I want you to remember that every heartbeat matters, no matter how small. This is Dr. Rachna, and I will see you all next time. Thank you for tuning in.